来看第2篇章，这个神秘的王建之死。
After the death of Mr. Wang Jian died on July 3rd, 2018 in province. The world's major media have reported. But there is only one media report in China, Caixin magazine. Wang's the best friend who truly represents him. Caixin magazine reported that Mr. Wang Jian, accompanied by his family, rushed up to the wall 3 times, failed, and finally fell to his death. After falling down, he was sent to the hospital to rescue, and his last word was, "My foot hurts," and died at the hospital. Of course, this is false and fake news. Other media reports have said he fell to his death, but 6 employees were at the scene, and others as well, all said this death is abnormal, but the details are completely different. Finally, a month ago, Judge Gumus of the Court of a Province in France verdicted that Mr. Wang Jian was died by taking photos. Do we all believe that? He is the largest investors in the world, the most influential investors in the world. In the interest of all the countries in the world, why is it that a person who has different answers and details about him and suddenly died? And this answer is given by the judge and the police. Of course, it's not normal. We can see who else is with him on the journey of his death. We can see it from here. What we see in this photo. The people on the death tours in these photos are all very important people. Translator Zhou Tiantian, then the most important person in France, Allianz, Soviet Ozil. I don't remember this name. I'm sorry. The lady has the trillions of dollars of a business in the insurance company in the past 6 years. And Wang Jian's bodyguard, Tian Ding, another bodyguard named Sun Jinghao, also called Pei Nannan. Another is his bodyguard and a secretary, Wang Ning. There is an old friend of the Communist Party of China. His name is Via, and one of the largest Chinese arms dealers in France, Hua Bing. And he is also the president of the France-China Foundation. And a very mysterious travel agent only take VVIP client. This company is called Alpha Travel. We can see what happened to Mr. Wang Jian on July 2nd, 2017 from the death journey. Many thanks to my investigation team who went to the scene and found the rare videos about 20 hours before the final death of Wang Jian. The person who accompanies Mr. Wang Jian is Sun Jinghao, who is the Pei Nannan, Wang Qishan's bodyguard. His name is on the flight record just now. This is Mr. Wang Jian, who arrived at the hotel in province at 7:52 on July 2nd, the video at the time. He was taking 2 Benz SUV cars. These 2 Benz cars brought down a total of 5 people. So 3 bodyguards, Tian Ding, Sun Jinghao, Wang Ning, and Mr. Wang Jian, and his translator. See, Mr. Hua Bing. This is Mr. Wang Jian in blue, and this is Sun Jinghao, and he's Pei Nannan. This is Wang Ning, and then the one is in black, that's Tian Ding. That's an overseas Chinese female drivers that I have never seen before. From this, our investigation team found that among these people that they came with, they quickly moved to another room. Next, you can see that at 7:56, Mr. Wang Jian and his translator Zhou Tiantian appeared in the lobby. This is the most critical person. Mr. Hua Bing came into the room, confirmed and registered. This is the translator, mysterious interpreter. She comes from the French Confucius Institution. She is full-time translator for Mr. Wang Jian. At 8:28, you can see that Mr. Wang Jian and Mr. Hua Bing are both in the hotel. On the other side of the door, start having dinner. Mr. Hua Bing changed into the red clothes and the white pants. Sometimes he has to use the crutch. Everyone pays attention here. This is Sun Jinghao, Tian Ding, Wang Ning appeared at this place. And then you see them went out. They walked over, and they went to the terrace restaurants across the street. And then they went for dinner, and have a couple of drinks. This video showed us who were accompanied Mr. Wang Jian to France on July 2nd. There was the white clothes, and it has the strips on the clothes. It has the zebra strips. His name is Viyak, who is an old friend of the Chinese Communist Party. So the other one, as you can see, is at 9:29 at the dinner time. And then there's another one, which is the president of the aliens in Asia, and Mr. Wang Jian and the translator. Mr. Wang Jian had already changed his clothes. He had brought a huge Buddha beads and a gold jewelry. At this time, he already got changed. During the time, he went to the bathroom twice, accompanied by a translator. And the president of the French aliens was brought in. And then you see, in the 2 minutes past midnight, they finished their dinner. We are now entering the crucial date of Wang Jian's death, July 3rd. At 9:05 on July 3rd, Mr. Wang Jian got up for breakfast. We have an interview record of this. It's all on your USB drive. It's long, very long, few hours. We're not going to show you here. According to the owner of the hotel, he, Wang Jian, had his breakfast at 9:05. At 10:22, everyone saw Wang Jian. Everyone saw Tianjin, Sun Jinghao, Wang Ning. They appeared at the parking lot. And Huabing appeared outside at the same time, including the translator Zhou Tiantian. They began to arrange the tour and the vehicle. In the process, as you can see, they were running around, and there were many emergencies. We have a bunch of videos, which I cannot show you here, because of time. Mr. Bano has asked me to cut it out. He doesn't let me to show it. That is a lot already. As you can see, at 10:36, Mr. Wang Jian last appeared on the videos in his life. Mr. Wang Jian walked out of the restaurant of the hotel. See this, wear white clothes. Behind this, behind the Sun Jinghao, we are white clothes. And this is Mr. Wang Jian. This is the last times in his life that he appeared in the video so far. So we saw Mr. Wang Jian left the hotel at 10:36. It took 8 to 10 minutes to drive from the hotel to this church that he was visiting, a small town called Bunur Village. And then you see, at 10:50, this picture, at 10:46 to 50, one of them saw Mr. Wang Jian at the intersections of the road, carrying a large Buddhist beads and jewelry on him, followed by 3 people. There were Sun Jinghao, Tianjin, Wang Ning, and a female translator, walking happily in the middle of the street because they were wearing jewelry, which attracts the attention of this gentleman. He was the waiter who worked at a restaurant right across the street. Only this restaurant has a camera facing the only intersections on this road. When he saw the man left, it was between 10:46 to 10:50 because he didn't look at his watch. He wasn't sure. After a few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, that is to say, from the intersections to the church on the top of the hill, we passed by several times, 6 times of interviews. We investigated. We determined that under 15 minutes you cannot walk it up unless you are flying. So dozen minutes, the female translator ran back, rushed to the restaurant, said, "Someone is going to fall." Will. Maybe there is something wrong with her pronunciation in French. The gentleman told us that she used the future tense. Will fall down. And called the police immediately. The gentleman called the fire department immediately. After that, he quickly spent 2 or 3 minutes, ran to the place where she said that he was going to fall. When he got to the place, he found there was only 2 people standing where Wang Jian was lying. There were only 2 people, remember. 3 bodyguards, 1 is gone. This guy never came back, but the witness did not know whether the 2 gentlemen were Wang Ning or Tianjin, or who. He doesn't know, but all he knew was that there were only 2 people. Wang Jian was lying there. They were giving him acupuncture treatment. They were hitting him in the face. And this gentleman, because he was trained in the first aid, he tried to rescue him, but they refused. They said, "Do not touch him." This is the approximate time from 11:03 to 11:15. The restaurant owner of this gentleman came to the scene. This gentleman went back to the restaurant to serve the customers. This gentleman's boss went back to the restaurant about 11:30. He said this Wang Jian, he was still alive. And what's more, he found a needle on the ground in this place. And he found a box of acupunctures. We found the same thing. They felt very strange. Why acupunctures? Very absurd. By this time, the police and the firefighter had arrived at the scene, and Wang Jian was still alive at 11:30. Next, the witness and the owner of the restaurant saw the police, and they knew the police were dealing with it. At about 12:30, Wang Jian was probably dead. He wasn't sure. At about 2 o'clock, Mr. Wang's body was transferred to a morgue 2 hours' drive instead of the hospital. Something I have to ask, how did Wang Jian get to the hospital? Why do they say Wang Jian is dead of the foot pain from the hospital? At this point, you can see from the video, around 12:10, and his translator and his bodyguard, and Mr. Huabing and Mr. Viak are back at the hotel around 12:10. These two bodyguards. The third person is gone. The whole body is covered with dirt. According to the owner of the hotel, he said it was all dirt. Mr. Viak and Mr. Huabing returned to the hotel less than 20 minutes after Mr. Wang Jian's death and were followed by the police. And the translator also returned to the hotel. The translator stood in the hotel door, crying, but he felt that she was intimidated. The lady Zhou Tiantian returned to the hotel at 12:12. The Miss Zhou was terrified. According to the hotel's owner, cried out of fear. Then the police came and spoke to them for more than 10 minutes. At about 12:30, Viak, Huabing, and Zhou Tiantian all left the hotel. The two bodyguards continued to live in the room Mr. Wang Jian had reserved, waiting for the company and Wang Jian's family to come here to deal with Wang Jian's incident. We have confirmed with our videos and our investigation team the time obtained from death of Mr. Wang Jian and the witness. At 10:46, Mr. Wang Jian and 3 bodyguards walking in the middle of the street with Zhou Tiantian, Huabing, and Viak were gone. Neither did the Mercedes. At about 11:03, the woman ran into the restaurant, asked the man to call the police, and the interpreters never returned. At 11:05, he, the witness, was probably on the spot. At 11:15, the man left the scene. His boss arrived at the scene, saw them acupuncture, hit him in the face, refused the restaurant owner to touch Wang Jian, lying on the ground, still talking. Of course, I asked the gentleman, "Did you have a letter in your pocket?" He said no. He was not allowed to touch him. Then at 11:30, the boss saw the police and the firefighter coming. Then Wang Jian was still alive. And at 11:40, the policeman and the firemen arrived. The owner went back to the restaurant. As you know, at 12:10, the police and the 2 bodyguards, Huabing, Viak, Zhou Tiantian, returned to the hotel, including the 2 bodyguards with the dirt all over them. That was the whole story of the Wang Jian's death on July 3rd. Now, many times in my videos, I suspect that Mr. Wang Jian's death is abnormal. It's not logical. The timing doesn't match. Why are the 3 bodyguards and one of them were gone? What are the identities of these 3 people? So we have to say Mr. Wang Jian, we think the reason he died. The number 1, a lot of loans, abnormal loans, illegal loans. It's all short-term loans that are coming due, and no one is responsible for that because we're disclosing. We have to see that in the entire H&A process, from the state-owned to a private ownership, from private ownership to 冠军刘成杰, from 冠军刘成杰became New York 慈航 and United States dollar. Wang Jian was the only or the most critical person to know all about this. The key insider. We must understand Mr. Wang Jian. He knows too much about the Wang Qishan and these families and H&A's past economic performance. All kinds of relationships. Too much about politics. In addition, I have spent many years with the officials of the Communist Party of China, the Ministry of Security, the Ministry of Information, the military, and the senior officials, including Wang Qishan. And it made clear to me that Wang Jian and H&A are the intelligence platforms for overseas development, strategic platform.
明确告知我，王建海航是我们的海外发展的情报平台。
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe The Voice of Go Media.